Wrestler, also known Lockman912 on PlayStation Network and specifically Gran Turismo. I'm going to do the video that I honestly said I wasn't going to do because so many people do it, and I honestly haven't seen a major problem with it. And this didn't turn out to be a major problem. It was a minor problem, but in both cases, I felt that the penalty system didn't do what it was supposed to do. Now, of course, we've got the new penalty system. We've had it for a while. And for the most part, I haven't had very many complaints about it. And I, I haven't. I've been doing actually pretty well. And it has eliminated a lot of, well, not all of them, but a lot of the rammers, the trolls, the people that are will go into a race and with the express purpose of just taking people out. Yeah, I know it's a game. Don't take it so seriously. At the same time, you know, many of us, if not maybe most of us, do take it fairly seriously because this is a form of sim racing. Yes, it's a console sim racing, as opposed to PC, but we are looking to improve. We're looking to improve and do well fairly. And so a penalty system does need to be in place. And I think most of the time the penalty system gets it right. And yet, back to back tonight, two cases where I think the penalty system either got it wrong or doesn't make sense. Maybe it's not being maybe the penalties aren't being applied by specific enough rules, which it would be really nice. It's kind of like the way that Polyphony Digital did the SR rating and the DR rating. There is no way in Gran Turismo to know what number you are actually at with either one of those. You just get a letter. Well, in terms of your driver rating, if you've got a B, well, that's 20,000 point range. In SR, your sportsmanship or your safety rating, if you have an S, well, that's a 20 point range. They give you no indication in the actual game where you are. Now, if you go over to the Kudos Prime page, and I will actually put the link to it. There's a section for Gran Turismo, and you can actually look yourself up. You can look up other drivers as well, and you can literally see race by race how many points you were awarded or deducted in either one of those categories. They've got graphs set up so that you can do that, so that you can see, okay, did I take a hit for this? Did I not take a hit for this? Was I penalized for that? And it's a little bit better than the arbitrary, green SR up, orange SR down thing with no indication of, well, how severe was that infraction. And I really wish that they would have put that in game. Also, I really wish there was more clarification on the penalty system. At what point, other than the obvious things, are penalties going to be applied? Because these are two cases where I honestly don't think either driver did anything. I know in every case none of the drivers involved did anything malicious. It was not an intentional contact. It was none of that. And yet in both cases people took penalty hits, and it was actually for a very similar situation, and yet the penalty system acted completely opposite. So the first one, and I only did the two races tonight. I got started late. I didn't even start my first race until after midnight. And then because of that first race, I was in a conversation with a buddy of mine on Gran Turismo Sport and PlayStation Network. Savage Soul Reaper, who I have raced with him before. I he is a he's my phone is going nuts here. Um, I know what to expect when I race with him. I know what kind of a driver he is. I respect him. He respects me. We have slightly different driving styles. Neither one of us is wrong for that. There are different driving styles in racing. Okay. You look at somebody like Dale Earnhardt, who was extremely aggressive, not dirty, aggressive. There's a difference. Okay. When you look at Hamilton now, okay, he basically has that reputation of being the guy who breaks last. That's his style. Racing would be boring if everyone did the exact same thing. So me and Savage Soul Reaper, we have different styles, but we're very evenly matched in terms of time and driving. And we know each other. We've raced together on several occasions. We've done the friend request thing. We talk occasionally, and we have respect for each other. Neither one of us is trying to do anything wrong. So I ended up talking with him probably for the better part of maybe 45 minutes. There was time really for, well, I thought one more race. I could have gotten into the last race of the day, but at this point it is almost 3 a.m. I wanted to get this video out. So we're going to go from the first race here. And this is the one with my buddy in it. And it's the daily race. It's the Tokyo Expressway Central Outer Loop. We're in the, depending on the nomenclature, wherever you are, it's either the MX-5 or the Miata or the Roadster, but it's the same car by Mazda. This is the 2015 Sport model. I love this car. I am intimately familiar with this car. I've driven this car in real life, actually have pretty extensive practice driving this car. We're going to do something a little bit different. This isn't going to be you see me in fourth, Savage in third. Typically what I do is I want to do a cockpit view. We're not going to do cockpit view this time. We're going to go ahead, we're going to take it from his perspective. And unfortunately, I don't think it'll let me pull up any other views here. Here we go. Just had to get into the rail. So here we go. Now, you'll see a couple of differences in style. He takes corners extremely fast, maybe faster than I would. He gets into them fast, he gets out of them fast. He does have a lot of really great control here, and he is constantly on you, okay? And that is not a criticism. That is a good, aggressive driver. He's taking those lines, he's taking those chances, and most of the time, probably 98% of the time, they do pay off. So the entire time, I'm behind him. Now here's my driving style. I maybe am a little slower sometimes going into corners. I'm going to wait for that perfect chance when I'm up against an opponent that I just can't pass easily. There's some people that if I know that I can shake them or I know that I can get in their head or whatever, yes, I'll be more aggressively. But at the same time, for the most part, I'm pretty consistent in my driving line. I tend to give drivers a little bit more room. I want to be in their vision. I want to be in their rear view. I want to be on their radar. But I will back up just a little bit. I'm not going to make any serious dives. Or any dives that I can perceive as being really excessively risky to either one of us. So we've got different driving styles. We're very evenly matched. Now at this point, and we have a yellow flag, and I don't know what happened between first and second place, but that was, I believe, it was either first or second place. He's wrecked out and back of the pack. Up until then, first, second, third, fourth, right on each other, and then there's about a 2-second gap, and that gap continues to increase the entire time. Another thing that it differs from my style, but I really appreciate and really understand the what he's doing and why he's doing it. With Reaper here, he likes to give himself an extra inch on that driving line. And so if there is just a tiny, you know, if his mirror is making sparks, he's good. I'm a little bit more centered. But at the same time, if that gives him an extra 3-4 inches on either side, now we're talking about the better part of a half a foot to a foot worth of arc. Yeah, that is, it's, does it make a small difference? Yes, it does. Does it make a difference though? Yes, it does. So again, we're both doing our own thing. We're following our own styles, our own lines. At this point, yes, I'm watching him very carefully because I know he's aggressive. I know there is a possibility that he could try to take a corner too fast, make a mistake, and I'll have a chance to overtake. I'm not right on his butt, but I'm willing to guess at this point, like, he's seeing me in his rear view for sure, and he's probably seeing me up on his radar just a little bit. We are that close to, you know, one another. To give you the perspective of what he's seeing, so now he is in a solid second place. He's making good turns, he's making good choices here. And I actually really like the way he actually managed to get sideways on that. He also, and we've talked about this, he, on this particular track, doesn't use as much braking as I do. Now, I don't require a lot of braking on this track, but I do a lot more up and down shifting as well. So there are times where I have to tap brakes, and most of the turns, it is literally just tapping brakes. Just to move smoothly from an upper gear to a lower gear, in order to make a turn. So we're on the fourth lap, and this is really where the action happens. And once again, you see the positions are pretty solid. You've got first place, which is, you know, up there by a couple of seconds. Then you've got Savage, then you've got me, really in a contention to see what's going to be second and third place. Fourth place is several seconds at this point behind us. So here we are, and I'm getting on him, and he did. He was a little overly, he went a little bit too fast for that. He ended up bumping a wall. He lost speed. So now this chase is going to go in reverse, except with a different driving style in the front car and the rear car. I've raced him before. I know he's aggressive. So I'm trying to both keep speed and also give him as few openings as possible. And he is right on me. He's drafting me. He is, you know, I'm trying to protect my race line. At this point, I end up actually accelerating too quickly, and now I'm forced into a position where I'm taking this inside turn. Now, I don't know if you even saw that. If you were watching my car, you were watching his, you did. Now, Here's the thing. At this point, I see him on my radar. I realize how close he is to me. I think he's going to make a dive. And then by the time that we are actually into the apex, I actually think that he's backed off and that he's going to go, all right, I'm third. I'm good with third. I'm going to take third. I'm going to back off because there's too much risk here. And that is mostly what happened. But I was loose because I was just regaining control. I'm taking this corner much tighter than I would want to take it. And I'm also trying to maintain speed so that he doesn't have just an absolute bam overtake. Here we go. And there it is. And if you watch it from my perspective, again, he's right on there. You can see it a little more clearly. He was actually going for the overtake. I honestly don't think he had the overtake. I think it was and even he, when we were talking, he admitted it was a risky maneuver. Meanwhile, my car was a little loose in that corner. And the thing is, after this race, because of course I'm in cockpit view. And of course, this being the Japanese / European, the right-hand drive version of this, I didn't even realize we had made contact. I felt nothing. My wheel gave me no feedback whatsoever. And I've got my settings really well. I didn't even realize. We get into the race lobby and I'm like, man, that was an amazing race. That was awesome. And I'm like, man, you almost had this and all that. And he says, I got the penalty. And I thought, well, maybe he had something to do with that wipeout up front. You know, maybe, I don't know what happened. No, he was nowhere near them when I watched the replay. I went immediately to the replay. And what I'm seeing is that little bit of contact where he was coming up around my outside, still kind of making the decision as to whether or not he had it, and he could make a clean overpass. My car was a little loose. Literally my rear bumper tapped him. We tapped each other. Okay? There was no wrecking. There was no anything. We made a minor contact, and that was it. He ended up getting a hit for that. Now, you can have criticisms of both of us here, and this is not about assigning blame to either one. This is about me personally saying I don't think either one of us should have gotten a penalty on that. Okay? You can say that his attempt to overtake was extremely risky. Yes, it is. That's his style. You could also say, well, you took a race line that was too close, your turning radius was too tight, and you were a little loose going into that corner. Yes, I was. That happens occasionally. In a perfect world, it wouldn't. We're not all Michael Schumacher. We're not all, we are not professional drivers here. That's going to happen. On both cases, and I really don't think that either one of us deserved that penalty at that point. He ended up getting it, and he's not mad at me. I'm not mad at him. We're both kind of like, man, this penalty system, and thankfully it didn't hit him too badly. It didn't drop his sportsmanship rating or anything like that, but he did get the hit for it, which sucks because I don't think he deserved it. I think that either in that case you either give a penalty to both of us because we both had some questionable things going on, or In an ideal world, you understand this is racing, stuff happens, and don't give it to either person. Now, after that conversation, and I think he ended up getting offline, and I was going to enter into the, like I said, very last race of the night at like 2:35 or whatever, 2:25, right before they switch over. Haven't even seen the next one, but I wanted to get this video out. So I ended up getting into one more race of the evening where a very similar thing happened to me with somebody who was taking, and this is somebody I don't know, and I'm not going to criticize them. They did take a risky overtake. It was risky. Was it, in my opinion, flat out wrong? I don't think so. I think it's probably a little bit more questionable than in the first case because of the situation. But I'm not going to slam this person for not knowing what they're doing or being a bad driver or any of that crap. That's not what I'm doing here. I'm just saying that given that situation, this situation seems even weirder to me in terms of how is the penalty system working and giving drivers, players, a 100% concrete, if you do this, you can expect a penalty. Don't do this, so improve here. Improve this specific area. And if you did that, I think it would educate a lot of people, because I think there are a lot of people who do things and they don't maybe realize exactly why they're getting penalized for infractions, because they make sense to them, especially if they're newer drivers. So here we are. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take the, what I like to call the RC car followed by a drone view. Again, I'm in, when this is actually happening, I'm in cockpit view. I didn't even see this. And I did feel a little bump, and I thought I had maybe clipped the wall. Right here is where I got the penalty. And I did get a hit to my SR on that one. It was a very minor hit because I still finished that race. Every other timing marker, I ended up getting a good SR rating. So it probably only hit me for 1 or 2 points, but it definitely hit me because I ended up finishing that race with a perfect 99. So it might have hit me for as many as, like, what, maybe 5-6 points, and I still would have finished with a 99. Now, here's the thing, especially if you're in cockpit view. Here's the way it looks to me. With the exception the radar is not shown, which at the time I was so busy trying to make this turn, I honestly was not looking at my radar. I did have my eye on the rear view mirror. But I'm only able to really see on the side view. And I honestly had no idea that the player behind me, Crazy Joey, had made that dive. But again, it's a very similar situation. Now, I'm assuming he didn't take an SR hit to that, because I did. Possibly we both did. Who knows? Again, was that a risky move? Yeah, it was. Here's why, and this is the only reason, because I already told Savage that I was going to do a video on this one, and I'm not trying to call anyone out for anything, because like I said, we all have different styles. Some are more aggressive, some folks are willing to do slightly more risky. That doesn't make them dangerous, it doesn't make them bad, and I'm not calling anyone out, because it works for people. You know, it's their personal driving style. Was that a risky attempt? Yes. I mean, I think we can agree, textbook, that was risky given this circumstance. Let's go ahead and look at it from his view. So this is from Crazy Joey. Okay, that is risky. We all know where that apex is. We all know how this corner works. Because he's not hitting his brakes either. So we all know how this corner is going to work. So he does know I'm going to turn in. That little marker right there is what most people actually use for the apex indicator. That's actually our clipping, the apex clipping point is that little sign with the yellow sign with a little circle on it that you can see on the right side of that wall. So is this a very risky maneuver that he's betting that either I'm going to take this turn wide or he's going to get enough of a lead on me that I'm now forced to take the turn wide? Yes, it's risky. Do I think is it dirty? No. Is he a bad driver for this? No. He's taking a risk. That level of risk is acceptable to him. That's fine. Very much like Savage did. He took a risk. Is it risky? Yes, we can all agree it's risky. But did he deserve a penalty over it? No, I don't think he deserved a penalty over it in that situation. And with Crazy Joey here, I ended up getting the penalty in this. So in a very similar situation on the same track, within 2 races of one another, you have a very similar situation where you have someone who is trying to perform a risky overtake. There's contact made, and by the way, in neither circumstance is this contact, there's no wreckage, there's no carnage. Now, he did lose a little bit of speed, but he manages to defend very well. The only thing is that he, like I said, he did lose a little bit of speed off of that because of the contact both with me and resulting also in the wall. Nobody ended up sideways. Nobody ended up in a serious wreck. I don't think he did anything wrong. I don't think I did anything wrong. I think we were racing. And I think occasionally in racing, incidental contact like that is going to happen, as long as it is incidental and not intentional. Nobody here was trying to put anybody else into a wall or off the track in neither circumstance. I don't know Crazy Joey, and I don't think I've ever raced with him before, but I have absolutely no problem with him taking that dive, except for the fact that it's a little bit more risky than what I personally would attempt. I don't think he had enough room, but then again, I was not in his car. I don't know where his tack is at that point. And if he's been holding back and he's been drafting me, and he knows he's only at 50%, then yeah, I mean, if you change that off, if you change the timing off by just a couple of fractions of a second, yeah, he ends up beside me in that turn, at which point he's made a successful overtake. So I don't think he did anything wrong, so I hope he wasn't penalized for that contact. At the same time, yeah, I got an SR hit. It wasn't a massive SR hit, but it did apply. And when you have the two situations that are so similar, and in one case, the person making the risky but not reckless attempt, in one situation that person gets a penalty, and in the other case, the person who is taking the corner and defending that corner takes the penalty. I'm not sure where that penalty system kicks in. I wish, and this is my main complaint, I wish it were more consistent. If you're going to, and I'm not saying that they should, If the fault is majority of the time going to apply to the driver defending the corner, okay, that's fine. You make the rule. I'm not going to like it, but I'll deal with it and I'll adapt to it. If you're going to apply that to the driver who is attempting to overtake, again, I'm not going to agree with it, but I'm going to understand it, and we will adapt. But at this point, it almost seems somewhat random. It's almost as a coin toss as to who's going to get a penalty. Are they going to get a penalty? Am I going to get a penalty? Is both of us going to get a penalty? Is neither one of us going to get a penalty? Um, and that's my gripe. That is my gripe. I'm not going to sit here and say that the penalty system sucks, because a good portion of the time it does a really good job. I understand that it's an algorithm doing this and not an actual human being that's watching every race. I get that. I understand. And I think the majority of the time the algorithm does a fairly good job. I've had cases where it doesn't, and yes, I curse under my breath and sometimes not under my breath, but I usually let it go. I don't usually make videos about it. But this just seemed so glaringly opposite in terms of who got the penalty for two cases where I really don't think either person deserved a penalty. Especially not when we're talking about C and B drivers. I don't know what Joey was. I know that Savage he's currently a C, but he's very high rated C. I'm a B, and I'm at the small end of B. Right now I'm clocked in at less than 15,000 points. So I mean, I'm on the very small end of B. It's not like it's not like any race now I could go up to an A. No, I'm a pretty solid low range B. So we're pretty evenly matched as far as me and Savage. Now, if we were a couple of, S-class racers, okay, yeah, I could see the penalty system being a little bit more strict, because obviously if you've got your S driver rating, you've got a lot more experience, and so I understand more can be expected from you. But when you're talking about the high C, low B area, look, we're still not figuring this out. We're coming into our proficiency. We're learning our individual driving styles. We're learning what works for us, what style works for us. When to be aggressive, when to be, decisive versus incisive, when to hold up, when to go for it. And that's really what the high C and low B is. Anything lower than that, you're still trying to keep the car on the road and not ram anyone. And then when you get into the very high C, B class, and A class, at this point you're really learning your racecraft. I don't think either one of these places deserved a penalty. And this is the short form after a 30-minute video. I don't think any of these situations deserved a penalty on any of the drivers involved. But if you're going to have a system that gives penalties to drivers in two very similar situations, at least give them consistently. Okay? Either I should have gotten the penalty in the first race and the second one, or the other driver should have gotten the penalty in both the first and second one. If someone can tell me why, if somebody can, give me a concrete reason and say no, and here's the reason why, by all means. I'm not the expert. I'm just venting here. In those cases, if somebody can come and say, okay, well, no, in this case, that person was definitely wrong. In this case, you were definitely wrong, then that's fine. I'm not looking to blast anyone. I'm learning to learn, have fun, have a good time, and not have hard feelings over, any of this, and actually get to a point where I'm, can know that when I'm on a track with people, okay, cool. You're going to respect me, I'm going to respect you. We may have different styles. Yeah, you know, you may get a little closer to me than I may get to you, or vice versa, but at the same time, we're all at that level where nobody's trying to kill each other. Um, and I really feel that in these races, we're there. Even the drivers I don't really know. I'm not seeing obvious stuff that I go, oh man, that guy's an idiot, or that guy doesn't know what he's doing. No, at this point, I'm looking at it and going, probably not what I would have done in that situation, but that doesn't make it wrong. There are drivers out there who say, well, you're not taking enough risk. You're not being aggressive enough in that situation. And you know what? In some circumstances, I'm sure they're right. In other circumstances, they're not right because it doesn't work, contact happens, you end up losing speed. It's all about knowing when to use what strategy in what circumstance, what your overall strategy is going to be across the board, and then applying that strategy differently given the circumstance, the position of the cars in relation to a corner, etc. So, I'm not mad at anybody here. I hope they're not mad at me. Um, Savage, I'm sorry that you ended up taking a hit for that, a penalty for that. I don't think you deserved it. Crazy Joey, if you see this video, I'm sorry about that contact. I don't think I was in the wrong. I don't think you were in the wrong. I hope you didn't get a penalty. Um, you know, I want us all to be able to race and really enjoy this and have fun with it. And if the penalty system was more consistent, and I know even in real life there's always going to be bad calls, but if the penalty system was more consistent, I really think it would. I think it would actually help a lot of drivers, and it would help us learn to be more consistent. Um, so anyway, so that's my rant. The video I said I would not do. Um, Complaints and grievances about the penalty system. Um, that's it. Um, so yeah. Anyway, so that's it for the night, and I hope that I know I've been rambling. I hope I've at least raised a couple of valid points. I know they haven't been quick, but I hope that, we can get some dialogue and get some conversation going on, you know, either, so and so deserved a penalty in this situation, not in another one. Okay, fine. Or here's why the penalty system applied this way or not the other. But at this point, I think the only people who really understand 100% how the penalty system works is Polyphony Digital, and sometimes I even question whether they can predict 100% what it will do based on a situation. So I still think it's a little buggy. Overall, yes, it's helped. Overall, yes, I get less penalties. But, and yes, I get rammed less now. Of course, I've also moved up both in sportsman rating and also driver rating since I started. So I am racing against more experienced people as well. It's not as bad as some players make it seem to be, but sometimes I'm sitting there going, what the heck? All right. So there we go. And I think I already got a comment. Yeah, no, it's not Minecraft, it's Racecraft. Anyway, so I hope you enjoyed my rambling, and I will talk to y'all later.